Please, the show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Wrong, let's talk about it. And my host, Mrs. Shanette Johnson, she will be joining us here shortly. Okay, and we hope to have some guests coming in tonight, us also on the show, and we will be talking about the FI6 Rehabilitation Program here at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division that the Parole Board of the state of Texas has placed a lot of individuals in, and it seems that they have taken the wrong turn because they have assigned so many thousands of inmates in the FI6 program that they don't have enough beds. So individuals are being held in confinement years and years after receiving a FI to go home. So tonight we're going to be talking about the problems that's affecting these individuals that's, waiting to go home, and how their families are feeling about these programs that they have in place right now. And tonight, like I say, we're supposed to have some guests coming on next door, and they should be here shortly. So my host, she should be joining us again soon. But in the meantime, let me just give you a little light on what's going on with the FI6 program. Here in the state of Texas, it used to be that they was not granting us parole. And people was getting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 15 denials of parole. So on a 20-year sentence, you were doing 15 years on a 20-year sentence. Why? Because they started denying you parole. So with that, it turns out that they said, well, okay, people started complaining about, being denied parole for the same reasons, nature of offense, probation, parole violation, or things of this nature, reasons that they cannot change. So because they cannot change these reasons, the parole board has been utilizing the same reasons year after year after year. Some people are getting 5-year set-offs under these circumstances. Either way, these individual parole board members started saying, well, okay, we're going to start granting you parole. But in the process of granting the parole, they are placing so many people in this FI6 rehabilitation program, which means that a person would have to wait until they get to the program 3 months later or a year later, then start the program, and then have to wait 5, 6 months just to get released. So these individuals are being frustrated because they want to go home to their families. They've done everything they could to show that they are ready for society. But here it is, our parole board system, our prison governor, our state representatives, our senators, nobody are doing anything to try to fix these problems. So as of right now, we have so many people who done graduated months ago. And we're still here because the parole board are not setting the release dates. So without them setting the release dates, these people cannot even, phantom when they're going to go home. So as of right now, we're trying to figure out what is it that we need our governors to do, our state representatives to do, our senators to do, our parole board directors to do, the management training corporation to do. This is the corporation who's investing in TDC. So now we're trying to figure out how is it possible that if on another unit you got the same program and you going by the protocols, that if they get granted it, FI6, and complete their program, that they get their answer the same day that they complete the program to be released. But here we are in the same program, And we have to wait until after we complete. Then we have to wait 2-3 months for them to set a date to be released. Then we have to be able to get released. Now, for those that's in state halfway houses, these individuals are the ones who are suffering the most. Why? Because it's taking up to 6 months just to get to a halfway house. After doing the completion of the program, and after waiting just to get to the halfway house. But then not only that, after you complete the halfway house, you got to go to another facility just to get to society. So these issues right here are very sad. They're very sad. Tell them, yeah. They're very sad, ma'am. And we're trying to figure out, I'm trying to get this guy to call y'all now. Well, he said the guy that was going to come on tonight, he's saying that he can't get in because he's not, his phone, he don't have no funds on the phone. So either way, man, tonight we're going to shed light on some of the problems again, like I say, and we're asking right now for somebody in our government to fix these problems. We recently reached out to Miss Elma Johnson. Miss Elma Allen, I apologize. Miss Elma Allen. And asked her to see if there's anything that she can do to try to fix this problem. And we haven't heard much from her, but she got the emails. So everybody that's in our government that's aware of these problems, ain't nobody really doing anything much to fix them. And we want to know what's going on. What seems to be the problem why no one is trying to help these individuals reintegrate back into society with a proper peace of mind. Without knowing that they've been held a year, 2 years after being granted a parole. They have a thing called FI5. The FI5 program, once you get granted your parole and complete your program, you go home. The same way that they have on the other facility. But why is the FI6 totally different from that process? And we're trying to find out what is it that we need to do in order to help them fix this program. As of right now, our reentry program people are not doing the thing that they can do to help. And not if the council is doing anything they can do to help. Why? Because they say their hands are tied. There's only certain things that they can do. And if they do too much, then they'll get fired. They're trying to help us reintegrate back into society. We're trying to give us the resources we need, our birth certificate, our social security card, to help us try to get our driver's license up, things of this nature, a job in society. They will not let them contact nobody but us to help us reintegrate back into society. So with this is a big problem that needs to be fixed all the way around. As for me, for myself right now, I made parole in July of last year. And it took me 3 months to get here. And then when I got here, I had to do the 6 months. And now here I am still awaiting to be released to society. I complete the program on the 15th of July. But what happens after that? When will I get a release date? That's the question. Why are these people refusing to grant these people release dates immediately after they complete the program? There's no question that they know that you're in the program for 6 months. So the classification division here should have a setup right there available to know that he will complete on this date. And that a release date should be set immediately after that. But the counselors say they don't have no control or no communication with the parole board in order for these processes to take place. So with that problem right there, ma'am, we are very, very confused as to what this program even stands for. Because it's not about rehabilitation. It can't be. It's about capitalism. Individuals are being held months after months, years after years, after being approved for parole. So with that, we're asking for the parole director, the rehabilitation director, the governor, the state representatives, and our Texas senators that's pushing for anything regarding the parole board process or regarding anything that has to do with TDC to fix this problem. That's what we're trying to do. As of right now, ma'am, they got so many beds in here that's empty. But they placing people in this program that got discharge dates. You got a 3-month discharge date, but you got a person sitting over there on the unit with a 25-year sentence who made parole, and he's waiting to come to the program. But he can't get to the program because they putting people here that's been there that got a a discharge date. He going home anyway. But what about those that done made parole trying to get to the program? We got so many bunks in here empty, that's unheard of. But why are they not filling these bunks up so these people can go home? That's what we're trying to find out. What's wrong with our system? And we need it fixed now. So as I was speaking of earlier, the guys on the other side have tried to get my attention to see if they can come on the show. But obviously, the guy said he didn't have no funds on the phone, so this way he won't be able to come on the show. But still, ma'am, we're going to go on with the show. And we're going to show that, you know what I'm saying, that these issues exist. That's just like now with the parole board system. These dot markings on the FIs denying people parole by marking out their point system number, it's unheard of. Because that right there is allowing the state of Texas to hold an individual year after year after year for as long as they want to, even after they met the criteria to make parole. Who authorized them to mark out that point system number? Because the legislators enacted the point system, but the legislators did not give them that power to mark it out. So why is it that the legislators know that they didn't give them the power and still allow for them to do this? This is unheard of. This is not right. Families are suffering for the loss of their loved ones, begging for them to come home, you know, after they done did everything in their power to do right by the system, and still our system is failing these individuals. So tonight we're asking for anybody that's listening to this podcast here in the state of Texas to contact your state representatives. Contact your senators. Contact your parole board director, your governor. Anybody who's willing to stand up and support us and show that the state of Texas prison system and the parole board system and our criminal justice system is broken. And we are demanding for it to be fixed in any way that they can fix these programs. As of right now, ma'am, I've been here 35 years and I've never seen anything so sad as this. Nothing. Because back in the day, if you get a parole, you was automatically going home. And the parole board didn't have no power to deny you when you go home. But they felt that that was a revolving door and that was too easy. So they changed it, along with changing the sentencing guidelines. So now it's harder to get out of the prison system, and you have to stay here longer in the prison system. Back then, you were doing 2 years and 18 days on a 20-year sentence. Now you're doing 15 years on a 20-year sentence. That's unheard of. That's how the system has changed so dramatically for the worst. Our kids are being held behind prison walls for long periods of time when, in fact, our system is not doing anything to help them reintegrate back into society. And this is our problem. As of right now, me being here 35 years, I had to teach myself. Because these systems, these programs they have in place, they're not teaching us anything in here. Nothing. All they're doing is getting the money in order to keep going, step after step. The conditions in here are bad. They're not utilizing the funds that the governors are giving them to be able to fix these systems. Instead, they're just kicking the can down the road year after year after year, getting another grant. So just recently, we had to complain about that on the Dominguez State Jail Felony Unit. And yes, they did come to fix these systems. But who's responsible for all of this? Who's responsible for overseeing these problems? Is it the legislators? Is it the governor? Is it the state representatives? Who is it? Because either way, it has to be fixed. Because 10 years from now, it'll worsen before it gets any better if it keeps going like this. So we asking for anybody that's willing to get involved to support us and stand up and demand for these systems to be changed. And for our legislators to listen to what we have to say. I don't know if my co-host has come back on or not, but if she has, I would like to, see if she would have anything she want to add to this.
Good evening. I do apologize for being late. As you guys know, I work um, late graveyard, so I overslept. And I do appreciate Cornell for starting the show. And Cornell, real quick, can you let me see something real quick? Because I was trying to add put some money on the card so they can call me. Let me see if it went to the right thing and not the video thing. Because they do, I would like for everyone to hear from the men's from Dominguez. So
Okay.
give me a few minutes. So I'm trying to get this up and going over here on my
Okay.
side.
Okay, so
So,
Cornell,
yeah,
let me ask you a question since you asked the question earlier. You asked that question why they're not doing anything. Well, we know why they're not doing anything because you look at the prison system. The prison system it started out as a $1 million industry and it went to $1 billion industry. Now it is $1 trillion industry. There's so much money being made through the prison system. Um, every day that a person is held in prison, the state get paid. You know, they will make it seem like it costs so much, but they're getting so much. They're making so much money off of it. If you go and you look at it, and people don't understand that these people are making money off of people being in prison. They are making money off of free labor because you asked me why you would have individuals to sign in to be a part of these different things that they go and be a part of. They signing in like they go into jobs. Why? Because somebody getting paid for something. Whether you going to work the job or not, somebody getting paid. Somebody saying that somebody doing something and somebody getting paid because they wouldn't have you filling out forms as if you was going to work. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into play. You, you I looked at not too long ago. Um, y'all have a lot of prisons that are being ran privately. You say there's a program where y'all have whole prison systems within y'all TDCJ that is being ran by private companies. There's two right now that the state is getting ready to take back over because they've been ran privately and they've been ran down. Evidently they have not been doing what they were supposedly do. And see, that's what happened when people get greedy for money. Because whenever these people decided up in Tennessee that they could run prison system better than the 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 prison system, that's when the private prison system became. And I think that was in it ain't been long ago. That was in what the I want to say 1981. Might have been when those two guys you talking about two guys that didn't know nothing about no prison system. I think one of them was had something to do with the government. He was something a representative or something. Um, but they had hospitals. They had different entities that sponsored these prison systems, these private prison systems. So then we wonder why the hospitals are so invested into the prison system. That because that's where they can get all they little they specimens. They can get all they tests and they can run tests on y'all because remind you you are a ward of the state. So these people are able to make so much money off of just doing little stuff. They can draw your blood. I remember you saying one time that they were just getting blood, getting blood, getting blood, and you was wondering like, where's they getting all this blood from, and what do they need with it? They running tests. They doing their experiments. They doing whatever because you are a product of the state. And it's not just in Texas, it's everywhere. I heard somebody tell me that they didn't eat the hot dogs that they served for 4th of July because they gave them hot dogs because they said they saw on the box it said not for human consumption. So they experiment with everything. We see it so often. And it's not their people that they're experimenting. You look at the ratio of people inside these prison systems. The ratio of us to them and us to other people. I mean, it's two races that probably dominate the the prison system, and we all know that that's our BLKs and our Hispanics. And then we look at all of what's going on in society right now. Our great president, number 47, he's so great. He's trying to wipe away so much and take away so much, and thinking that it's hurting us as brown people, but it's not. You've had your foot on our head and on our necks for the last 400 and something years. There's nothing that y'all can do to us that's gonna make us feel any less or any worthier. If we want to know what is going on, we follow the money trail, and that's with anything. That's with anything. Because if we look at how a lot of this stuff even come about, ain't none of us had no equipment. We had no ships. We have no boats. We couldn't bring none of this stuff into these communities. But yet it got there. Just like now there's a epidemic of drugs going throughout the prison system. All of the prison system. I look at videos every other day. People sending me videos of individuals having these fits and these episodes from the consumption of drugs. But how? When they can't go nowhere. It ain't like they can pull up and order it because they can't pull up and order it. So how is it getting inside of the prison system? Again, it goes back to the head. If we start with the head and get things in order, it'll begin to fall down. When you hold people accountable, then they do what they're supposed to do. But if they think you're not watching and they think you don't care, they think they got the upper hand, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. We see it every day. Just like if somebody don't get a handle on this Carmelo Anthony case, he's going to be another product of the system. Because what the public is doing right now, they're trying to tank the jury, and they're doing all kind of stuff that makes no sense. Because you can't tell me why is the dad and the other twin able to go on these platforms and do the stuff that they doing, and that not be illegal, that not be against all of what is going on. You should not, if you got a trial, you should not be all out here in the public doing all that. You should be waiting until your trial to the stuff come up and the case go forward, and then if you got something to say, that's when you get on there and you talk your talk afterwards.
Can
But you
I
don't go there and take the jury at a time.
Could I jump in? I've been saying the same thing about since they've been about his case that baby's not going to get a fair trial. But a lot of people been saying, "Oh, we need to stay positive and stuff." I've been staying positive by but by talking to the men from Texas and knowing their situation and and what they experience with the all white juries over there, it's going to be hard for him to get a fair trial. Period. After hearing what the rhetoric that they're spilling over there, the hatred, even coming from people, our own people, what I heard, I mean, I was like, I had to come off social media after listening to what our own people was saying about that young man. Basically, they saying that he deserved it.
Yeah,
You
our own
know, I
people.
mean, it gave me a headache.
So
You
Cornell,
know,
are you
you got
familiar with that case?
Ma'am?
Are you familiar with that case?
The Camilo Anthony case?
Yes, 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 yes.
Well, yes, ma'am. I got a couple of guys over here who are very, very familiar with that case too, because they have friends that's connected to the case. And I'm gonna call back and I will tell you what I know about this case, ma'am.
All right.
Okay? Okay.
you know, I mean, it was embarrassing listening to what our brown people was over there saying. You know, oh, we're standing behind the wrong person. You know, we're sending our money to the wrong person, the wrong family. They got him a public defender. I never seen that family not once stand before the cameras with a public defender. I ain't never seen that family or heard of anything about that family
It's
buying
just to
cars or
justify.
I mean,
It's just to justify. It's to justify him calling people out of their names. It's to justify the fact that they got four GoFundmes and they can come on lives. They can come on TikTok because you know when you go on them TikTok lives and you do these lives, you can make money off those lives. If you get so many likes and you get so many coins, you can make money off of that. So
but you
these
know,
people were live for 15 hours. He sit over there and he was jumping from live to live to live to live to live. And it just makes no sense to me. Outside it being a money grab, I don't understand. But you got four GoFundMe's. Why do you need that much money? And I'm sure these people are donating because we know how they donate. If they donated over $1 million to that lady that called that child the N word, and they donated over $1 million to her, you know that these people don't care nothing about donating to foolishness. They don't care nothing about donating to stuff that makes no sense. You can
but
say
our
anything.
own people, but our
Videos
own
don't
people,
lie.
Angela,
And you can
I-
look at these videos over and over again. The videos don't lie. Now, time have you seen Anthony family come over here to defend anything? Shanette, can you please tell me in time that you have seen anybody commit a crime in these news and be innocent and they not and they come on there and talk about it and say anything about it. But if they knew without a shadow of a doubt that Carmelo Anthony was guilty, they would have known drug that boy up under the rug. But see, they can't drag him. What they doing right now, Shanette, is they stalling. They trying to come figure out what other kind of charges they can dummy up on this baby. Because they do that. That's what they do in Texas. Ain't what nobody told me. Something that we just talked to somebody. We got a guy that you're gonna be talking to soon that had the same thing happen to him. He had a
oh
case,
yeah,
had that case, and then the feds was, I guess, was gonna pick up the case or whatever, but could not they did not have enough evidence to convict him. So that's when they trumped up another charge on him while he was in prison. How did he commit that crime if he was already locked up in y'all prison system? Ain't nobody questioned that. Ain't nobody asked that question. But because he looked like us, ain't don't nobody care. Because None of these laws was designed for us, no way. If you look at all these laws that's on the books and all this stuff that's on the books, none of this stuff was designed for us. Everybody around here celebrating 4th of July and celebrating that for what? You weren't even free then. You was not free in 1776. None of our ancestors was free in 1776. But yet we are yet celebrate a 4th of July and proudly celebrate a 4th of July. For what?
Exactly.
Don't
Out
even
there
represent
shooting,
nothing
out
about
there shooting off fireworks. Out
shooting
there shooting off
fireworks.
fireworks. They wasn't kicking up that much for Juneteenth.
Nothing.
And our brown brothers, y'all wasn't doing that much for Cinco de Mayo, but y'all out there doing that much for a country that got their foot on our necks.
And they don't care. And they'll defend these people to their grave. And then you got all these BK men that's married to these YTs, and that's all they do is defend them. Defend them. They can be wrong. It's hell, and they gonna defend them. But you can't get them to stand up. And why do they do that? I explained that the other day on my live when I did my devotion. I was explaining why a lot of those people. You asked that question too. Why all those BK men down? Because that's who it is. It's the BK men. You don't hardly hear none of those women over there saying that, but it's mostly
No.
those men. And most of those men, they are dating the YT women, and a lot of them, they don't even love themselves. So if they don't have love for themselves, then how can they have love for anybody else or care about
And
anybody else? They
it's
hate them.
one man over there that has a platform, nothing but YT women, and he allowed them women to talk about black women.
Well, I bet you they won't do that in the street, because I'm telling you, I'm not my ancestor. So
And I just think about, you can love who you want to love, but when you involve hate, you can't say you love God, because God is not hate. God is love.
yeah, God ain't nowhere in that mess.
God
They
is
want to
nowhere
throw
in
Donald
that.
Trump and God name in the same sentence. God ain't no way in that. God ain't in nothing that is taken away from the citizens. He's killing people. He's taking away medicine. He's taking away food. He's taking away housing. He's taking everything that he's taking away. God wouldn't have done that. Jesus wouldn't have done that. He ain't asked not now time what would Jesus do, because Jesus wouldn't have done that. Jesus wouldn't see all these homeless people up under these bridges, and yet we would send millions and billions of dollars on a parade for him. But you got homeless people living in tents under bridges that serve this country. If you wanted to really honor uh, 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 the army and the military, you should have been honoring them veterans, getting some of them veterans off the street. That's what you should have been doing. But we don't talk about that.
Exactly. They good enough to go fight for our country and stuff, but they not good enough to house and feed, regardless of what kind of mental illness that's going on. We don't know what them men and women are seeing over there. We don't know. And then, oh,
Oh,
they
Donald
got
Trump,
drug
man,
addictions and all of that. We don't know
he
what they
evaded
seeing.
the draft. So of course he don't know. And I never know, because now he too old. But then he wanna change the limits and change everything for everybody else. Yeah, I'll be glad when he get on up out of there.
Okay. Well, I would like to weigh in on this. First of all, we have already realized for decades that we have two systems now. One for blacks and one for whites. I mean, BKs and one for the white, WTs, whatever.
YTs
But no,
and BKs.
YT, thank you, and I apologize for that, ma'am. And the issue is that, ma'am, for decades, our system has rallied around the way that they can take and treat the African American totally different as opposed to the Caucasian. So under them circumstances, ma'am, the issue now becomes the capitalism. The capitalism is how can they make billions and billions and trillions of dollars off of hey. And this is what's happening. So now when it comes to our criminal justice system, that is one of the easiest ways to lock us away from society and to get paid for locking us away from society. Now they've taken our females and doing them the same identical way, locking them away from society for possessions of less than a gram of cocaine, things of this nature. When in fact they don't have it's not a crime. They have a drug habit. They have a problem that needs to be fixed that they need to get the help for. But instead, our system penalizes them instead of giving them the help that they need. The same way in here. Instead of giving these kids the help that they need to help them get off of this drug, they are penalizing them, and they are trying to do everything they can to hold them here in prison. Now, the issue that I spoke about was regarding the Mr. Anthony Camillo case. In that case, yes, we're dealing with a double system. You have some people saying he's guilty, and you have some people saying he's innocent, and that is self-defense. Okay, well, what do the evidence say? What do the facts say? If the facts show that he was justified, then why is it that everybody's missing the point? That doesn't make no sense, no matter what our opinion is, because I wouldn't want it to happen to my child. If he's innocent, he's innocent. If he's guilty, he's guilty.
Well, everybody keeps saying that he could have walked away. He could have walked away. But you don't know. A lot of stuff is starting to come out. Like we starting to find out that these kids had ties to the peanut butter boys. Yeah. Them boys that ran up in there in January the 6th. They had ties. Dad was really connected to him because he was in the same circles with three of them right there in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and the couple that was known to do time, one was known to go to jail and did some time. There was two females and a male. He's connected with them, and they got a video out that saying that one of the peanut butter boys took a call and said that the one that's unalive, he was gonna be the paper child for them. They was already looking at him. Now you tell me, well, what kind of stuff is that? So they teaching something in their house that's not right. And if he could come on these live shows and say what he said the other night, call a BK female that N word and call her a B, yeah. He used that regularly. That ain't just something that just popped up because he was under distress and he was mad. Yeah, they want us to be mad at Robert Hinton because he did what he did, but it's okay for him to get on here and cuss people out and to say what he want to say. Nah, if we ain't gonna do the double standard, if we gonna do it for one, we gonna do it for all.
Okay, so it's obvious then, ma'am, what you're saying is that this case is being overshadowed by the issue of the color of our skin.
Exactly.
Okay, and not by the facts. Okay, so if a district attorney receives a case, ma'am, their job and their duty and obligation is to apply the law to the facts of a case.
Well, he's not going to do that because from what we've been hearing the last couple of days, the DA and the victim, they're friends. Yeah, the dad and the DA, the one that's been running around doing all this talking, him and the DA are friends. That's what's floating around now.
That's where we have an issue called judicial misconduct. And because we have this fact being pointed out, now we have the power to make a change of venue out of that county and away from that judge or the district attorney. Why? Because we got a buddy-buddy system here.
And not only that, they got a petition going around to bring charges against the brother. The brother, because they saying, everybody is saying that these kids, before all this stuff started getting passed around, and the mama telling them to retract videos and to take stuff down and do all that. You were hearing little kids talk about how these twins were bullies. But now everybody hush hush about that. You don't hear them talking about that. But in the beginning, they were talking about how they was bullies, and I can see that. If Dad is doing what he doing on these platforms, yeah, they bullies. And then I believe some stuff happened between the mama and the daddy that caused them to be some tension, and they got a favorite one in there too. It's a lot going on that's playing a part in this, and these people trying to keep it on the hush, but then they trying to paint Anthony as a bad person. This boy ain't never been on now. They did one press conference that the dad showed up to, didn't have no reason being there, but he showed up to the press conference. But these people have only done one press conference, but yet he wrong. He guilty. He don't did this, but his story ain't never changed. But then you got those Metcalf story keep changing every time you turn around. Every video you go listen at, you gonna hear something different coming out their mouth. But they telling the truth.
Okay. So with that, ma'am, the issue is that we have to all stay focused on the law. If the law requires for him to be justified, ma'am, and that he did not have to retreat or have to leave the scene of the crime in order to be justified, then he didn't have to.
Well, he's justified then. We don't even have to talk about that no more because he met all. It's five. It's five.
Yes,
What he met all five of them.
Okay. So that's why we, as a public and a community, should file a petition demanding for them charges to be dismissed.
But let me say, I don't mean to cut you off, brother. But when it's divided, you got some of our people that siding with them as well because they believe that he's
But
wrong.
Shanette, I have to. Today I was in a room, so I can't say that we don't have some of them on our side too, because there were a couple people today that I know were other persuasion that were for him. There's a guy out of California. Yeah, he comes on there. He is Caucasian, and he says that by law, that baby is innocent.
Yeah,
He
I
said
see
he
that.
stood his ground. He said by law, he stood his ground. And there's another guy that said the same thing, and then there's a lady that said the same thing. So there's some people on both sides that's either up, but there's probably more of us, our BK men that feel that way, and they feel that way for the wrong reason.
Exactly. Because you know what I was hearing also is when you said I forgot what you said, but a lot of them were saying, "Oh, he was wrong for doing that."
And
Would
he
you
said
want
he should
your
have walked away.
child to would you want your child to protect himself if he was in that situation? Because I would want my child to protect himself, and I know for sure that my son would have protect himself, and I would have stood 10 toes down with him.
Okay, you're right. So what we're saying is that it don't matter until it happened to us. So now let's the two on the other foot. Now because
Cornel.
and he got the district attorney on his side who happens to be his best friend, and whoever knows who else is best friend in the courthouse, then we're saying that the district attorney's office in our state of Texas is not considering and looking at the facts to this case.
They not.
Only going with the money trail now. Because now this has turned into almost $1 million process now. Where somebody's going to get their hands into a cookie jar and they're going to get paid well for this. But now Mr. Canelo Anthony's defense and the community have to stay focused on the facts of the case and the law to be applied to it. It don't matter how many people come up against us. If the facts of the law and the law applied to it show that we are right, then we shall prevail. Right now, I petition dismissing this case based upon stand your ground, number one. Number two, self-defense. And number three, the lack of sufficient evidence to prove that he intentionally and knowingly caused the death of an individual. Ma'am, he should be right now released from any further confinement. That's the law.
My question to you, do his lawyer not know that?
Ma'am, yes, they do. But see, that's what they thinking that y'all don't know. They think the public don't know because ain't nobody saying nothing about that. So if don't nobody say anything about the law to be applied and how it's supposed to be applied, they'll let it go on and on and on and on. And guess what they'll do? They'll keep letting that money right.
That's what they're doing. They keep, because they're now asking for more money. Because they're saying that they're having to pull tapes, they having to do all this stuff, but they shouldn't have to, because that man ain't got no grounds to stand on. There's nothing to stand on. They're not saying what evidence was presented to the grand jury, who made up the grand jury. They're not sharing none of that information.
Okay, and you know why? Because it's a pick-a-pal grand jury. If the father to the son is a friend with the district attorney, obviously they're going to present this case to the district grand jury and get an indictment. The indictment is being rubber stamped. That's a rubber stamped indictment. Why? Because no evidence was presented to the grand jury to support that indictment. None. So with that, now we're saying that there's other information out there, and not only that, Carmelo Anthony's statement saying that he acted in self-defense. And video footage is showing that he acted in self-defense. Anybody can speculate why he didn't retreat. Anybody. But the issue remained that he did not have to retreat by law.
How can he retreat? If you got 4 people standing around you, how you gonna retreat without? If he tried to retreat, people fail to realize that you got 4 people. It was just one. It was 4 people, and they keep saying that he could have went in any direction. How? If you got 4 people surrounding you, either direction you go, you gonna bump into somebody if they surrounded you.
Okay.
So how could he willfully on his own decide? Now he said what he said, so that they can move from where he was to give him his space, and then maybe he could have retreated. But they wanted to be bullies, and they wanted to touch his stuff. Yeah.
Okay. But mind yourself, he was in a public place that he had a right to be.
Right.
He was not provoking anybody to do anything.
Correct.
He did not go down with no intent to commit no crime. Okay? And number 3, he did not do anything to cause the incident to happen.
Because Shanette, what's probably gonna come out is he was under that tent talking to one of them girls, and they came over there. Oh, well, one of them came over there and saw him over there talking to one of the girls, because they said that I think it was the dad or somebody on one of them shows. Oh, Diego don't popped up. That's Hunter. He don't popped up in one of the what's his name, and he directly was commenting on the stuff that I was posting, because I was posting. I don't care. He stood his ground. They come in there with that foolishness. He stood his ground. He did what he needed to do, and then he gonna say, "Oh, you supporting the murder?" I say, and they need to lock you up too. I said, because you the one went and got your brother. You the one went and got him. You the one went and brought them over there. Because that's what they said. The first 2 minutes of the video, you'll see him go and get his brother and bring them back. So he went and brought them to it. And I tell you, it's gonna come out that it was probably over there about a girl, had something to do with a girl, and that was the whole little cause of that. But we gonna see. It's gonna come out, because them kids ain't gonna keep all that stuff quiet. They only can be quiet for a little while. They're not gonna be able to keep all that quiet, because then people gonna start pointing the fingers at them. Because remind you, there was 4 people that surrounded him. They ain't said nothing about none of the other people. Where them other two boys at? The only person they talking about is Hunter. Where the other two boys at? They don't identify one. I think his name is BJ, but they hadn't identified the other one. One of them, from my understanding, one of them was black, or maybe two of them was black. I don't know, but it was a BK person up in there.
Okay, so where did the criminal intent come from initially? Initially, it came from one of the guys who was
from them aggressors, from them twins, because
okay.
number one of them didn't even have no right to be there. If we tell the truth, he wasn't even on no roster. He was not participating in nothing that day. So he lawfully, if we want to tell the truth, had no right even to be there. And they want to say Camilo didn't have no right under that tent, but he had right to be in there. It started raining, and they told them to get to a tent or get to the bus.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner, can I ask you a question, ma'am?
Yes.
What constitutes a crime, ma'am?
What constitutes a crime?
Yes, ma'am. What constitutes a crime? To commit a crime, you have to do what?
Break a
You
law.
have to act on it.
Okay.
You have to plan it.
The law, huh?
Don't you have to plan it. You have to follow through with it.
Okay, so that means that you intentionally and you knowingly did something to commit that crime, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
So in order to commit a crime, you got to have intent, and you got to
Motive.
have what?
Knowledge, intentionally and knowingly.
You got to have intent and knowledge. Okay.
So mind yourself, Mr. Camilo Anthony is charged with intentionally and knowingly causing the death of an
Well,
individual. That's
he had no, he didn't intend to do anything because he didn't even know them. First of all, he didn't even know them. He went to compete in a match. He went to compete in track. He had no idea that none of them folks was gonna come in his face. So how did he have intention on doing anything?
Okay, so that's what I'm pointing out. That's what I'm pointing out to you. We have to take the intent and the knowingly out of Mr. Camilo Anthony's case because he didn't intentionally and knowingly do anything to commit a crime. He was in a public place, which he had a right to be. He did not provoke anybody to do anything to him, okay? And he did not have any criminal intent to do anything to anybody. So with this being said, the guy who went to go get his friends, he's the one who had the criminal intent to come back. And
Hunter, that would be Hunter. That would be Hunter.
Okay, so if he done that, how is it that the district attorney's office is missing the point? The point is that they went to go get somebody and they came back and confronted Camilo Anthony. And with that being said, that's where Camilo Anthony was justified in doing what he did, and he stood his ground and doing what he had to do. And therefore, the district attorney's office have a duty right now, as we speak, to dismiss that indictment against him. Why? Because he was justified and he stood his ground. He did not have to retreat. So his lawyers, I don't know what they're doing, what their plans are, what they're thinking about doing, but I see now that this has turned into a money circus now.
Yeah.
And everybody's missing the point. So
that's all it is. It's a money grab. That's all it is. It's a money grab. Because if you go GoFundMe's and then you stand on live for 15 hours, you on for 15 hours. They was on that live for 15 hours. And then you going from live to live to live to live. I mean, everybody trying to have this jury taunter on their platform. Because that's what he doing, taunting the jury.
Okay, so what do? We, the public. If these lawyers for Camilo Anthony are not going to do their jobs now, we are demanding right now in a petition that they be withdrawn from this case and that we be assigned some attorneys who are going to represent him to the best of his ability. Why? Because these attorneys are not filing anything to get him off this case when in fact the facts are proven that he was justified. Why did they not file a motion to dismiss this indictment, and why are they letting this case go forward toward a grand jury that he may not get a fair trial in because now it's turned into a money grab? The lawyers will allow themselves to be paid money to help them get the conviction, then paid more money to do the appeal, then paid more money to do the 1107. So they will rack up as much money as they can out of this one particular case. That's a very simple case. It's a justified case, and this boy stood his ground, and he's innocent, and the district attorney's office should dismiss that case right now as we speak.
So how much time do he have from the indictment? Because they have what, 180 days to get him into court after the indictment come down?
Okay, here's what's going to happen in his case. Because of the publicity that's in this particular case, the district attorney's office is going to file a motion for continuance, which means that now they got this GoFundMe. They're going to try to rack up as much money as they can in this case. The point now is that you have 180 days to be indicted. That means that all the evidence got to go to the grand jury. But after the indictment, you have what we call a pre-trial hearing, which means that you can file this 30 days before a jury trial and ask them to show you all of the evidence that will allow you to file a motion to squash the indictment or to dismiss the indictment. So as of right now, our best option is to file a motion to dismiss the indictment, because the indictment was built on what we classify as grand jury racketeering. The grand jury was fixed in this case. Why? Because the grand jury is friends of the district attorney and friends of the victim, of the father of the victim.
Right.
This is grand jury racketeering. So what we do as a public, we demand that this whole case be put on a platform to be dismissed, and that the attorneys in this case be dismissed off this case unless they do their job by filing the motion to dismiss this case right now. Because we ain't gonna need them. Why? To help get a conviction? No, we don't need to, because we don't have to go that far to no jury. Because the jury is going to be tainted, and the public is not going to know why, because these attorneys going for a money grab, and they'll make it look good for the record like they're doing their job, but all the time the jury going to come back and say guilty. And when that happens, then he have to appeal that case. And the lawyers who represent Camilo Anthony are going to appeal that case. And they're going to get more money just to appeal that case. So right now, ma'am, I wish the public would stand up to the state, to the district attorney's office in that county, and do their job. And demand for this case to be dismissed based upon justifiable cause, stand your ground, and a lack of sufficient evidence to show that he intentionally and knowingly caused the death of this individual.
And who can do that? The lawyer, right?
The public can do this.
So the public can do what? What can the public do? Tell the public what they can do again.
The public can stand up on a signature petition to demand that the district attorney's office, in this case, dismiss this case based upon justifiable cause, stand your ground, and lack of sufficient evidence to show that Camilo Anthony intentionally and knowingly caused the death of this individual. And we're going to ask for the attorneys in this case to either sign off on this petition and get a hearing on it, or dismiss themselves from this case for failure to do their job. That's what we're asking for. Because this case can be dismissed right now before we even go to a jury. And he should be given a release right now. He shouldn't have to have no high bond that he can't get out of jail. Because right now his life is in danger. Why? Because of public opinion.
You have 1 minute left.
So that's what we're asking for, ma'am. And the public can do that. An online petition to the district attorney's office to dismiss this case based upon justifiable cause, which is self-defense, and stand your ground, which you don't have to retreat, and lack of sufficient evidence to justify intentionally and knowingly. Because that's what he's indicted for, intentionally and knowingly. But the evidence and the facts show that he did not intentionally and knowingly do anything to anybody. So he's justified. So that's what we're asking for. So if anybody listen to this, please stand up and support Camilo Anthony and demand that this case be dismissed.
All right.
Thank y'all very much, man, for allowing me this opportunity, and I'll talk to you guys later. And thank y'all very much. Thank you, Miss Shanette. Okay, ma'am? And I'll get to you very soon, okay?
All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Oh, shoot. I just forgot that this fast that this was our show today. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Let's Talk About It. Once again, I do apologize for being late. I do work graveyard now. I work from 11 to 9 in the morning, so I did oversleep. And then today I started summer section, and I'm taking sociology and a math class. So I got homework I gotta do, and I have a lot of stuff going on. My plate is back full, and I got another podcast I need to do. I gotta hurry up and get over there before so I can do that, and then I got to get to my homework. I love you guys. Don't forget to tune in to another episode of Let's Talk About It with Shanette and Cornel on the first and third Monday of the month. Also, let me just say this real quick. We have a website up. Go check out our website. Let's talk about it with Shanette and Cornel. It is up. We're gonna be posting a lot of things. Look for we're gonna update every month. I'm gonna try to keep it updated. If you have any family members that need their stories to be heard, send me an email at let's talk about it 2024 at outlook.com, and I will put it out there on the website. Just get in contact with me. I would love to share their story. We would love to talk to them. You guys stay blessed, and we'll see you again on Let's Talk About It.